Welcome back to a new releases video. I try to post these videos every single month because I like to talk about my most anticipated new releases for the upcoming month. I have about 25 to 30 new releases in this video, ranging from sci-fi books to horror to fantasy and to thriller. I've honestly got all sorts, and this video doesn't contain all of my most anticipated new releases. This only contains the top of the list. I've got about 130 new releases on my spreadsheet, so I couldn't possibly include them all here. However, I am planning in the future to do longer videos for potentially channel members or patrons, but I don't have that set up yet, so I can't do that right now. So for now, you're just getting the shorter videos. In the future, we'll see what happens. So please like and subscribe if you like these videos. There are definitely more to come. Without further ado though, let's get into my most anticipated new releases for April 2024. The first one that I absolutely have to mention is the reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. I am absolutely thrilled that Holly Jackson is coming out with a new book. I love A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and that whole series. I read Survive Survive, which was her first Good Girl's Guide to Murder book. I liked it. It was okay, but I have really high hopes for this one because it really sounds like she is going back to her roots and the vibe is going to be very similar to her previous series. And Five Survive was more of a American sort of base book and vibe. Like, you can't have the RV and the shooter here in the UK, and I'm hoping that this book will kind of go back to a similar vibe to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I'm so excited. I'm so thrilled. This one's coming out on the 2nd of April. Also on the 2nd of April is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I have read 2 of her books so far and loved them. Gave them 4.5 and 5 stars. Absolutely incredible. So I can't wait for this one. I'm so glad that she is coming out with another book. I've just realised I forgot to say what Rachel Price is about, so yeah, go and look that one up if you want to. But what this one is about, it's a romance book. It's about 2 people who think that they are cursed. Apparently the guy, Justin, cannot find his soulmate. They keep breaking up. He posts on Reddit about it, and then someone DM'd him and is like, I'm having the exact same problem. Shall we date? And he's like, yeah, well, might as well. And it's meant to last just for the summer, and I assume as it's a romance book, it's going to carry on. It's going to be so cute. I honestly adore Abby Jimenez's writing and characters and stuff, so I'm really excited for this one. Another one on the 2nd of April is Someone You Can Build a Nest In, which is a very strange title, but look at that cover. It's incredible. So this is a fantasy horror book of some sort. It says here that it's a charming monster slaying fantasy romance. It says here that the main character is a shapeshifter and she is chased out of her home by monster hunters, and she falls off a cliff as she is trying to escape. She is then nursed back to health by a human, and I think they're gonna get together, and it just sounds really, really good. I actually can't wait for this one. I'm really excited. Next we have a thriller book by Mary Kubica. I've read a couple of books by her before and I didn't love them, but this one does sound intriguing, so that's why I put it on this list. It says here that an ICU nurse accidentally uncovers a patient's frightening past. The main character is trying to find balance between being a single mum to a teenage daughter. A patient arrives in the ICU, is in a coma, there's a traumatic brain injury, then a witness comes forward with shocking details about the fall that caused the brain injury. Wow, I don't know what's going on with the brightness. It's because I'm right by a window. You're just gonna have to put up with me glowing. This one does sound quite intriguing. It's not really like a thriller that I have ever read before. I've not really encountered this premise, so that's very exciting. Maybe I can close the blind a little bit. I'm not sure if that's much better. Next, I have a romance book called The Rule Book. This one is apparently a companion story to a viral TikTok sensation that I've never heard of. So to be fair, I'm not on TikTok, so it could be viral and I just wouldn't know. This one is about college sweethearts who meet again years later. A short walk through a wide world. This is apparently the invisible life of Addie LaRue meets the life of Pi, which is a combination that I've not really encountered or even really thought about before. This is a debut book. It's historical fiction. It's set initially in Paris in the 1800s, and that's probably where the Addie LaRue vibes come in. The main character is called Aubrey, and she is a spoilt, stubborn 9-year-old girl. It says here that she comes across a wooden puzzle ball on her walk home from school. She tosses it over the fence only to find it in her backpack that evening. Days later, at the family dinner table, she starts to bleed to death. Medical treatment only makes her worse, so she flees to the outskirts of the city where she realizes that it's the very act of movement that keeps her alive. This sounds so good. I'm so intrigued by it, and I love that the main character is called Aubrey. I feel like that's not a name that you really come across very often, and my granddad's called Aubrey and it's always been one of my favourite names, so I'm glad to see his name represented in this book. Next, we have a non-fiction book called A History of the World in 12 Shipwrecks. I don't really know why I'm into shipwrecks and stuff at the moment because I freaking hate the ocean and the sea, but maybe that's why I feel like reading this. This is written by an archaeologist who is telling us about 12 different archaeological sites or discoveries of 12 shipwrecks. I think this sounds so interesting. I think that because humans have been discovering the sea, or exploring the sea for so long. There are probably plenty of different shipwrecks that can tell us a lot, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I'm going to try and get the audiobook, I think. On the 2nd of April in the UK, but the 23rd of April in the US, we have Dragon Rider. This is the first book in a new saga. It's obviously a fantasy series, and it's about dragons, and that's all I really needed to know. I, along with most other people in the booktube fantasy community, I'm really into dragons at the moment, so I'm looking for some more dragon fiction books. This one is about an orphan and a handmaiden who are fleeing from the empire that would imprison them. I don't know much more about it, but it sounds very, very good. Next, we are on to the 9th of April. I have another fantasy book, and that is The Last Fee Hunter. This is a fantasy book kind of about ghost slaying, I think, which sounds really interesting. It says here that the youngest member of the Hunter's Order has spent his life slaying ghosts, and he is determined to hunt down the demon of nightmares and of madness. And then he comes across a pregnant woman who asks him to escort her through the haunted forest. This one sounds really good. Not many people are talking about it, but I'm so excited. Then we have The Hungry Dark. This is a thriller book. It says here that murders plague over all town as a scam artist psychic races to find the answers in this haunting thriller. It's from a master of unsettling suspense. This one sounds so good. I love books about psychics and stuff, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. It's also by Jen Williams, who previously has written mainly fantasy books, I think, so it's very interesting that she is now diving into, I guess, a sort of paranormal thriller mystery sort of thing. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I'm probably not going to read this one right away. I'm going to see how people find it. This is a historical fantasy book. It's set during the Spanish Golden Age in a shabby house in Madrid, and the main character can wield magic somehow, but not very much of it. She's not super talented. But the king is kind of desperate to get revenge on those who have wronged him, and so I think he probably sends like assistants or something, or his subjects, to go and find people who can help. And obviously, as a magic wielder, this main character can help. It does sound really good, but I'm just not sold on Leigh Bardugo's stuff. I've read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and I hated the ending, and I've read Six of Crows, the whole duology, and it was just alright. Yeah, maybe I'd get on better with her adult stuff, maybe. So I'm more interested in this one than Ninth House, so if I do pick up one of her books, it will be this one. Then we have a sci-fi book called Mal Goes to War. This one is about humans fighting and also AI. I think the AI is probably sick of humans' shit, and the AI doesn't really understand why humans are fighting yet again. This one sounds really good. I'm personally really looking forward to it, but it's probably not going to be one that I pick up right away. I'm going to wait to see what some of the reviews are like. The Gathering by CJ Tudor. I've read a few of this author's books before and haven't liked them, but now they seem to be leaning more into horror than thriller mystery, so I'm much more intrigued now. This one is set in a tiny town in Alaska in which a boy has his throat ripped out and all of the blood drained from his body. I think this is probably going to turn into a vampire book, and the detective has to look into what is going on in the vampire community. I don't know if it's like real vampires, like humans who pretend to be vampires and suck blood, or if it's like paranormal vampires who actually are sucking blood. Megan Miranda is also bringing out a new book called Daughter of Mine. Megan Miranda normally writes kind of small town thriller mysteries, and they're often about characters coming back together with people they knew from their past and like the secret histories and stuff. I don't know if I'm going to read this one because some of her books have been really disappointing to me. Others I've given 5 stars, so I'm not sure. I'm going to wait for some reviews and see if this is one of her better ones. So it says here that Hazel unexpectedly inherits her childhood home and is warily drawn back to town. As the water level in the lake starts to drop, long hidden secrets begin to emerge, including evidence that may finally explain the mystery of her mother's disappearance. I think this one does sound good, so I'm definitely intrigued. Let me know if you have read this one or if you're planning to. The Age of Magical Overthinking. This is a non-fiction book by the author of Cultish. This one is kind of a cultural criticism, I think, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it should be very interesting, so I'm probably going to get it on audiobook if I can. The House on Biscayne Bay, I think is how this is pronounced. This is gothic historical fiction and also a bit of a mystery as well. It says here the lives of 2 women intertwine as the past and present collide in this atmospheric new novel. I'm kind of into historical fiction at the moment, so I've got my eye on this one. Then we have The Hemlock Queen, which is the sequel to The Foxglove King, which I've not read, but I want to. This is a romantic series, I think. I don't know what it's about, I'm going to be honest, but I'm very intrigued because a lot of people seem to love it. And next we have one of my most anticipated books of the year, and it's called Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. This is by the same author as Dead Silence, which I gave 5 stars, absolutely loved it. This is another space horror book, and I'm so excited because I'm really into sci-fi and space horror at the moment, and I have been for a while since I read her other book. It says here that space exploration can be lonely and isolating. Psychologist Dr. Ophelia Bray has dedicated her life to the study and prevention of ERS, a space-based condition most famous for a case that resulted in the brutal murders of 29 people. She's assigned to a small space exploration crew. She's eager to make a difference. But as they begin to establish residency on an abandoned planet, it becomes clear that the crew is hiding something. Blah, blah, blah. Their pilot is discovered gruesomely murdered. Is something sinister happening? I think something sinister is happening, and I can't wait to find out what that is. I've debated pre-ordering this book, but it's really freaking expensive, so I think I'm probably going to get the ebook and then wait for the paperback to come out so that it matches my copy of Dead Silence, but I will be reading this as soon as I can in April. The final book that we have for the 9th of April is How to End a Love Story, and to be honest, I put this on here because I really like the title. This is a romance debut by the person who is developing a couple of Emily Henry books onto the big screen. It says here that it's the screenwriter of People We Meet on Vacation and the director of Beach Read. I don't really like either of those books. I've only read Beach Read and I didn't like it, but I do think that this has potential. It's really cool that this author is getting a debut book because clearly they're quite into romance, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. Maybe soon. Then moving on to the 16th of April, we have Between Two Trailers. This is a memoir about a woman who, as a girl, escaped a childhood of abuse to then go on to earn a degree from Duke University. It's giving me kind of educated vibes, I think, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. I'll probably get it as an audiobook if it's well narrated, and I'll let you know what I think. Also on the 16th, we have Earth Flown, which is a sci-fi book. It says here that it's also a love story set in near future post-flood London. It sounds like there's also some sort of fantasy vibes as well, in that the characters seem to have some sort of powers. It says here that the main character Ethan saves the life of a fire starter. He's the only healer on call at the hospital. And then they get into a romance and there are corpses involved. I don't know, this one sounds good, and this also says on Goodreads that this has an illustrator and over 60 illustrations. So if I do read this one, it's going to have to be a physical copy because that sounds brilliant. A Calamity of Souls. This one is historical fiction set in Virginia in 1968. It says here that a racially charged murder case sets a duo of white and black lawyers against a deeply unfair system as they work to defend their wrongfully accused black defendants in this courtroom drama. I've not really read many courtroom dramas, but if I am going to read one, it's probably going to be this one because it does sound quite good. I've read like 2 or 3 other ones. They're all right. It's not my go-to genre, but this one does sound quite good. And like I said, I'm really into historical fiction at the moment, and this is a time period that I've not really read much about. Indian Burial Ground. This one is a horror book, I think. This is about a woman who wants to start a life with her boyfriend, but he unfortunately takes his own life. And so her entire world crumbles down around her. And then her estranged uncle returns home. He brings with him loads of secrets and horror and stuff. So I'm very intrigued. It sounds very mysterious, and I would like to read this one, I think. Then moving on to the 23rd of April, we have Funny Story by Emily Henry. And like I said, I didn't like Beach Read, and that's the only adult fiction book that I've read by her. So I'm not sure I'm going to read this one, to be honest. I just thought you guys should know that it's coming out in April. Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. This is another mystery thriller set in Australia by her. I've only read one book by her so far, and I did really enjoy it. So I think that's why she's normally on my new releases list. She releases a lot of books, and they all sound very good. So I might have to do a which Sally Hepworth book is best video if I can find all of her books. So I really enjoy doing those projects, and I haven't done one in quite a while. Ocean's Gori, I don't know how to pronounce this. This one is another sci-fi slash fantasy book. I'm not really sure what it's about, to be honest, but I really like the cover, and not many people are talking about it, so I wanted to showcase it here. It says here that the main character, Ocean, has never felt like much of a Korean. Even if she is descended from a long line of beloved female divers, she is also persona non grata at the Alliance, Korea's solar system dominating space agency, since a mission went awry and she earned a reputation for being a little too quick with her gun. A thrilling adventure across the solar that delivers hyperkinetic action sequences and irresistible will they won't they romance, alongside its nuanced exploration of colonialism and capitalism. This one sounds like it's going to be incredible. I really hope that it's good. Again, not many people are talking about it, but I'm really glad that I found it, and I'm going to try and give it a go sometime soon. And then finally, the last book of this video is Real Americans. This one is historical literary fiction. It says that it's an exhilarating novel of American identity that spans 3 generations in one family. What makes us who we are and how inevitable are our futures. I love generational fiction. I don't know if you know this, I say it in almost every video, it feels like. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one, which comes out on the 30th of April. I might try and pre-order it if I can. I just don't think I have the book budget right now because I've got a bunch of other books coming out, but I'm gonna try my best to get my hands on this one because it does sound really good. Those are all of my most anticipated releases for April 2024. Like I said, this is only the top 25 to 30, and I always have way more in my spreadsheet. So when I do get around to putting up a channel membership or Patreon, I'm fully planning on doing a much longer new releases video so I can showcase more new releases to you guys and also share my spreadsheet with you so you guys can see just how many books I have on my anticipated list. Like I said, in April I've currently got like 130. I haven't started on May's yet, but there's going to be a lot. So that's something to look out for in the future. Let me know if you'll be interested in that in the comments below, because that will spur me on and motivate me to get it done faster. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Bye.